Well, everyone, it's time for us to do a battery comparison between the iPhone 14, Samsung Galaxy S22, Google Pixel 6, iPhone 13, and the Pixel 6a all the way at the end. Now, all these phones are at full 100% battery life for right now. All the apps are also cleared out in the background and all of them, as you guys can tell, and they are all up to date on the most recent version of software. Now, the Pixel 6 is on the beta, but the rest of them are on iOS 16 or the official versions of their Android operating system or the most recent version of the beta. Now, it's been running for about 42 seconds. I'm going to let them essentially die out. Now, a few key things to keep in mind. We are in sunlight, so that may have an effect, but if it affects one phone, it's going to affect the other ones. I'm going to let them pretty much stay on their displays. Again, I have the timeout set out as well, but with Android, sometimes they do typically time out earlier, so I will be playing a YouTube video in the background of a countdown, so none of the screens will time out, and I will check back in probably every hour or so and just kind of see where we're going with. All the brightnesses are also at 100% capacity as well, so I'll check back in about another hour or two and see where we're at. Alright, so we are about an hour in and things are getting very, very weird. So all I did was just play this video on their max brightness with no other apps in the background. Now my iPhone 14 is at 85%, my Galaxy S22 is at 90%, my Pixel 6 is at 94%, my iPhone 13 is at 90%, and my Pixel 6a at the very end is at 93%. So out of all these, the iPhone 14 is doing the worst, which is crazy, and this is updated on the most recent version this one had. I had a software update when I booted it. The Galaxy S22 and the iPhone 13 are doing the same, and the Pixel 6 is doing the best, with the Pixel 6a doing the second best. So right now, the iPhone 14 that I have here is doing the worst, which honestly doesn't make too much sense. I'm probably going to give it another hour with this countdown video. Again, this is a random countdown video, nothing crazy. I guess we're going to see what happens. Weirdly enough, though, the Galaxy S22 display doesn't seem as bright as the iPhone 14's, and I just double checked and I am at full brightness, so I guess we'll check back in another hour and see where we're at. Alright, so we are about an hour later, 2 hours and 3 minutes in, and this is getting pretty crazy. So the iPhone 14 that we have right here is at 70%, and this is just from playing this video for the last 2 hours, not even anything crazy. 70% on the iPhone 14. Galaxy S22 is at 81%, Pixel 6 is at 86%, iPhone 13 is at 77%, and the Pixel 6a at the end is at 84%. So the crazy thing is the iPhone 13 that's been used for a year now on iOS 16 is at 77%, 7% higher than my iPhone 14, which is insane to me. The Pixel 6 is still doing the best, and even the Galaxy S22 is doing better than the, iPhone 14. I think it's doing better than the iPhone 13 too, which is pretty insane. So the 13 I noticed went down in battery life going up to iOS 16. The iPhone 14 is doing worse than this iPhone, which is insane. Now I do want to say one other thing. None of these have cell signal, none of these have SIM cards installed in them, none of these have any other applications in the background. I will go ahead and load up Temple Run 2 though, with this video playing in the background, and just kind of let that go for an hour and see where they're all at. Looks like to me the Pixel 6 is probably going to, outlast all these other phones, but it's crazy to me how kind of poorly the iPhone 14 is doing right now, to be honest. So we'll check back in about another hour. Been about another hour of playing Temple Run with this video in the background. I'm going to go ahead and swipe out of this game on all these phones, so give me 1 second, and we will pretty much be able to see that on the iPhone 14, we are on 60%, which is very interesting. With the Galaxy S22, we are at 64%, so it actually kind of even out a little bit on both. The Pixel 6 is at 74%, so much higher than both of these phones. The iPhone 13 at the end is at 62%, so still higher than the iPhone 14. And the Pixel 6a at the very end, if you guys can see, is at 73%. So we are still at a very interesting spot. The Pixels are doing better than all the other phones. The iPhone 13 is still doing better for the most part than the iPhone 14. And the Galaxy S22 is catching up with the iPhone 14, not in the best way possible. So I'm going to go ahead and play this game again for another hour. I will definitely tell you from what it looks like, playing these types of games kind of evens out these phones a little bit more. So I guess we'll do it and we'll check back in another hour. So we're at actually over an hour from my last check-in. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the game on all of them, and we will go ahead and check the battery lives on all of them. Now my iPhone 14 is at 45%, doing better than I thought. My Galaxy S22 is now at 39%, so the S22 is now worse than the iPhone 14. The Pixel 6 is at 57%. The iPhone 13 is at 41%, so now the iPhone 13 is now doing worse than the iPhone 14, at least on this Temple Run test with the YouTube video playing in the background. And the Pixel 6a at the end is at 59%. So weirdly enough, the Pixel 6a is now doing the best, and the Galaxy S22 is now doing the worst. So there's something about gaming that I realized with these big intensive games that really kind of narrows out the battery life in weirder ways. So on standby time, I'm realizing the iPhone 14 may not do the best in terms of standby time if you're just watching a YouTube video, but if you're actively gaming, if you're doing that kind of stuff, well then maybe that's where iPhones start to shine, but it looks like the Pixels are starting to actually be a little bit better. So if you're gaming and doing heavy intensive stuff, it may look like the iPhone 14 is probably going to do better than the 13. It's also doing better than the S22, but both the Pixels, the 6a and the 6, are actually doing better than the iPhone 14 and all the other phones. So please keep that in mind. So we'll check back in another hour or two and see where we're at. All right, so we are 6 hours in, I think, and we are at varying different battery levels. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of all these. In order to make the test kind of last a little longer, I might just end up playing the video at the tail end. So let me go ahead and show you guys the battery percentage now. So the iPhone 14 over here is at 26%. My Galaxy S22 is at 11%, so this one's pretty low. My Pixel 6 right over here is at 34%, still very high. My iPhone 13 now is at 18%, and my Pixel 6 at the end is at 40%. So still the Pixels are doing the best. The Galaxy S22 is now doing probably the worst. The iPhone 13 is doing second to the worst, and the iPhone 13 is doing third of the best. So very interesting stuff. I'm probably just going to go ahead and load up this video at the tail end and just kind of let them slowly die out at this point and just kind of see where it goes from here. So I'll probably check back in about another hour or so, and some of these are probably going to be dead. So I guess we'll see what happens in a little bit of time. So now to kind of wrap up this video, the iPhone 13 and the S22 all pretty much died, and we can see our iPhone 14 right now is at 2% battery. Our Pixel 6 I think is at like 18%. And the 6A at the end is at 21%. So I can definitely tell you, sorry about the bad lighting, I can definitely tell you to kind of wrap it up, the Pixel 6A is definitely the better one in terms of battery. It's going to outlast pretty much all the other phones for the most part, in this type of caliber, which is pretty insane. I will say the iPhone 14 was kind of weird in the beginning with, but then it kind of, rapidly kind of improved over time, which was really cool. So I was really happy to see that. But still, I would say for standby time, it was still fairly close. Like, I don't know why the iPhone 14 wasn't really doing that well, and I do apologize for the thing being so bad. But I would say, kind of to end it out, probably if you want the best performing phone of all time, and definitely something like the Pixels are probably going to be the better job in the battery life department. But I think the iPhone 14 isn't bad. I just think it needs to be kind of increased in terms of the improvements in software and everything. But I guess in terms of right now, it's definitely going to get better throughout time. But I will be curious to see in the next few years how the iPhone 14 is pretty much going to age. But I still think for sure the Pixels are the better ones when it comes down to it. So in terms of that kind of covers it up. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that'll mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.